Hello, everyone. Today we are doing a video. We've got a question from Anonymous who is asking, who said that they were feeling like a blue-gray circle that's rolling with being tired and hungry. So I'm going to get started on this blue-gray circle that's rolling and is tired and hungry. And then while that's drying, I'll answer Anonymous's question. So I'm just going to start with just a blue circle in the middle that's pretty standard, nice blue circle. Okay. And then with this blue and gray, so instead of making the blue gray, what I'm doing is I'm actually mixing up some actual gray. And again, this is just watercolor, very heavily watered. And, you know, when I think of somebody rolling with something, I actually think of like, going through like a wave or something. So I'm just gonna make a little bit of a wave. So they're rolling with whatever is going on with them. And that's kind of where this is going. And we've got a little bit of gonna get the blue and the green there. And then obviously I would like to see my blues and my grays um blend a little up here. So I'm going to take just a hint of that black and put it into my blue and make it a little bit more, a little darker, a little bit darker on the blue side, a little bit darker on the gray side. Just see what we end up with around here. So it's just a little bit more around it. It's a little bit darker than what we had on the other side. And then this is where it gets interesting because I need to get those colors blended. So I'm just going to clean off my brush and just do plain water and get some of these colors blended. So we've got these blue, the dark blue and the light blue kind of getting together. I've got just a hint of plain white that I'm going to use as a blender. There we go. And then again, just that plain water and see where these blend. And I'm using that white as a little bit of blender there, just to see where that ends up. There we go. So that is what I've got so far. And the lighting, again, I know that when I um, recorded this the last time, the lighting just looked a little weird, but we're just gonna leave this as is. And so I'm gonna let that dry. Kind of see it a little bit better when I zoom in. But we've got some dark gray, some light gray, and some blue. And now we're going to answer Anonymous's questions. So, Anonymous asks, do you enjoy your job? So this is actually a really good question. I am studying, I'm working on my doctorate, and I'm studying some of the relationships between personality, career interests, and the types of jobs that people go into. So I'm kind of an expert on jobs, um, and in my previous videos I talked about changing jobs. So in in when I turned 38 or so, I decided to change jobs, and that was a huge step. And so that's kind of a big deal. So I've become kind of an expert in changing jobs kind of mid-career, and then also obviously my expertise is working with um, teenagers. So as with all of my questions, I have a yes and a no. So things that I love about my job. So I work at a small public university, and my job is student support. And the reason that I like this particular job and what I do there is I have had a full life of just life experiences. I've done so many things in my life in my 44 years. I absolutely have just this huge experience that I've lived, and I love it. And I like the fact that I can help with people on with their personal issues, just students specifically, and sometimes the professors like to sneak by my office too. But this life experience that I've had, it actually it's really super beneficial to other people because when they come into my office, they are coming in thinking that nobody has any idea what they're going through. And here's me having lived this very, very full, rich life. And in order to have a full, rich life, that means, having a lot of bad experiences with the good experiences. And so then I have a lot of those bad experiences that students are going through, and I have a lot of the good things that they're going through. So it's really fun to share those with students, and professors too. And the other thing that I like about being in student support is I have gone to school for quite a few subjects and I've studied a lot of subjects. And so I have mastery over a lot of academics. And so I guess this should be academic mastery. So let's say mastery of academics. So I've studied quite a bit over my 44 years. I love to read. I love to learn. I'm a very curious person, so I'm very much asking Google all the time, different things. And so that mastery of just knowledge is something that is helpful for students that I really enjoy. So when students are picking out their careers, when they are picking out which general education courses they're going to take, that mastery of a lot of different of subjects and subject matter is really helpful for students. So my general knowledge of academia um, that I have. And then in combination with my life experiences, I have a lot of tools to offer students. And I'm really happy that I can work with students that are, first of all, willing to work with me. They actually come to my office, they ask for help, and that's huge. Nobody likes to work with people that ask advice and then don't follow it, or just don't ask for advice but like to complain about how things are going bad. So I work with just amazing students, and I have all of this experience that I can share with them, and then it allows me to help them. Things that I don't like about my job. So everybody has job things about their job that they don't like, and my biggest one is sitting all day. I am way too active um to be sitting in an office all day. Uh so one way that I've gotten around being being in a job where I sit all day is instead of taking my hour-long lunch like most people in our school do, I actually break that up into two 15s and a half, and then I go for walks for all three of those. So I'm getting up and moving three times a day. Um, Anytime I have, so like I said, in my support side, sometimes the professors have some things that they need to talk about. If we're trying to work together to support students, they might want to chat about something. So I'll physically walk to their office rather than just sending them a message or over email or whatever. So I very much uh, combat this all day. And even as a classroom teacher, I very much enjoyed standing up while I was teaching, moving around, talking with the students, and that type of thing. So sitting all day, not my favorite thing to do. Um, and this one, I know I have a lot of children that are viewing this, so I'm just going to explain what this word is. And I'm not even sure if I'm spelling it right because spelling isn't my greatest. So the big thing, this word is bureaucracy. This means that there's a ton of unnecessary rules and policies and regulations in the educational system. Um, and those rules, they get in the way of supporting students. And that really bothers me. Um, and so like my only job is to support students, but there's all of these rules and policies and procedures that prevent that from happening. Now, I honestly, um, I don't, I don't bother with learning what those rules and policies are. I'm not really big on rules. I tend to like to keep my rules simple to about three for my own, for my use. And then, if you can't sum up the rules in three sentences, but I've got viewers that are, um, I think my youngest viewer is probably in elementary school. So if you can't break it down into three rules that an elementary school student can understand, too many rules. So I just don't, I just, my solution is to not follow those rules. And it's not that I'm breaking any laws. These are just policies that are unnecessary and hinder my ability to support students. And I think that's really important as for the people that are, people that are curious about the types of jobs that they're going into, being aware of this type of thing. If you're comfortable with lots of rules, then absolutely, government organizations and large corporations, lots of bureaucracy. So that's a good place for you. If you're not much of a rule follower, self-employment is great. What else? Working in smaller, like startup companies. Those are really great because they haven't even had a chance to get going. Like they're just trying to get going at that point. So they have almost no bureaucracy and no rules. So startups are a great place if you wanted to avoid bureaucracy or those rules. Um, and then, obviously, since this is advice, and I'm assuming Anonymous wants to know more about this, um, knowing if you're the kind of person that likes to sit or stand at work, or if you're, you know, are you okay standing still, or do you like walking? So I'm very much a walker. I like to move around. Some people like just standing. And so I've done a variety of different things in my life. So I've worked in factories, and that's very much standing in one spot. Um, I don't think I've really done anything where I have to walk, but sitting, absolutely, it's not a good fit. But like I said, I came up with a solution. I just take my breaks at different times than is usual, and it allows me to get up and move around. Um, and then as far as things that, if for Anonymous, if you're looking for things to do or if you're just curious about this, um, these pieces, the life experience and mastery of different things, so everybody has their own experience and everybody has things that they're really good at. If you're doing the things that, if you get to apply your life experiences and your knowledge at a job, you're going to enjoy that job so much better. So just, and I'll even throw in, you know, I mentioned this in a previous video about your natural abilities. So if you're doing something that you're just naturally good at, you're going to enjoy it a little bit more. But in this case, so my natural abilities are not necessarily used in this position, but my experience and knowledge is. And so that is something that I really enjoy, that I get to use that at my job. So that is the answer to Anonymous's question. We're gonna go back to the painting, and does look like yep, that is really wet. So I'm just gonna honestly, just because I'm very much intentionally limiting these questions, I'm gonna just get this dried off. And yes, that might take away, but we're gonna like Anonymous, we're gonna roll with it. So I am using ultramarine blue is the shade of blue that I used in my watercolors. And then I'm also using my titanium white and then Mars black. So those are my three colors that I'm kind of using. And the design that I'm seeing, so this is kind of fun. It created a little problem where there's just missing colors. So that's going to be a fun little place find an adventure on this. So, one thing that I'm noticing is that these are swirling. And so the last brush I used was just the brush, but what I'm noticing is these are kind of hard swirling. This stuff is a little bit uh, more swishy, but I kind of want to acknowledge these hard swirls with my blade brush. And so I am going to get um, a little bit of um, blue and a little bit of that ultramarine blue, a little bit of white, just to try to match that shade. And I'm going a little bit darker just because, so it's going to be a little bit darker just so that I can see it. And then this is going to be just some, let's see if I can get a little bit of water. So this is a little bit more watery, these these acrylics are a little bit watery. This is generally like the second step in this type of painting. And so I'm just going to go and make some of these swirls a little bit darker than I'm seeing. And I don't actually know how this is going to turn out. I just see these swirls and they're calling my name. And so I'm going to swirl around with them and very much take it like Anonymous and just roll with it. And you can see they're not perfectly aligning, but that's actually, it makes it so much cooler to see that they're not aligning. And there's some up here, but that was, and that's good. Uh, there's some up here that's in that darker range. And those, I'm gonna have to mix a teeny bit of black with those. So I'm adding just that same light blue. I'm adding some black to that and making it a little bit more, um, oh man, this color went really far. So just making that a little bit more of the gray blue that Anonymous was feeling. And so again, just catching some of these. And I made a little oopsie there, and that's kind of fun. I'm gonna catch as many of these little swirls that I'm seeing. And I can actually see a few of these that are coming through on the this part that got tapped off. There we go. Now, in order to kind of fill this in, I'm actually going to use just plain white. So I just want essentially, and it's going to mix quite a bit, but I'm going to just have a lot of water in my white. And I'm just going to, actually going to use my other brush, that swishy brush. And I'm going to kind of mix this very watery white in with those swirls and see what we end up with. Just kind of, again, just rolling with these colors to see what's a little too much. Just giving some of these swirls and some of that light blue, kind of a gray blue. And I am adding kind of varying amounts of water as I do this. And kind of mix and match. And I just covered up one of those, that's okay. Just kind of getting a few more of these little spots. And as I'm adding this white back in, I really like how swirly this is looking with this brush. So now I'm going to go back into that blue and I'm just going to kind of add a little bit more of those. these swirls are just kind of turning out. And they're very, so I'm kind of doing a little bit of both, and then just getting it a little bit darker so that that's visible. And then in the middle, this is just, I just used the ultramarine blue and the white. So I'm going to kind of get my white, I can get some white on there, but then this is just kind of plain white. But I'm going to go back in with the ultramarine blue and maybe just do some like darker ultramarine blue and see if we can get this swirl a little bit more defined. And um, yeah, just a little bit of water, not too much, but just swirling that around. And then kind of really, I like this swirling, but then I'm going back in with this darker color. There. Very cool. And that seems like it's probably the simplest thing in the world to get those colors to match, but it's actually pretty tough if you think about it. And just get these colors to match a little bit more, blend a little bit more. Looks good to me. And now the last thing we have is this grayish, this gray area on the bottom. And as you can see, this has more of those um, that softer brush stroke that I like. And kind of right there, there's kind of a hard line, but I am gonna just use, so I do need to get a little bit more white. So I'm just doing a very light gray. And that is going to be, let's see, plenty of white, plenty of water, and definitely getting up into that because that's where that darker one is. And then there is kind of one here. I just happen to really like this brush stroke for that type of movement in this flowy movement. So just kind of adding some of that darker gray, just kind of wherever that rolls up. So a little bit more on the right. So we're just going to honor that and we're going to keep it a little darker on the right and maybe it'll be a little bit lighter on the left. So a little bit here on this side too. And then the rest of it is a little bit lighter. So essentially I'm just going to add just a hint more white to that already existing gray. Get that nice and watered down. Trying to aim for kind of that that navy ship gray. It's kind of where I'm aiming for, just to see if it'll be a little bit different. It's perfect. And this one goes up in here a little bit more. And then last step, kind of as usual, is to get some of these grays and blend it a little bit. So just just a little bit of water on my brush and then getting them to blend. And they create that nice watery look to them when they blend. And getting up into that circle. And then something that I'm seeing is a lot of these streaks and stuff. I very much like this motion, but I actually kind of like this gray color a little bit. I'm gonna put just a few of these streaks up here, kind of where I'm seeing some open spots, just to add a little bit more depth to that whatever. I don't want to call it a sky. It's just kind of an abstract shape at this point. But just adding a little bit more of those. And I'm gonna turn my screen because I do this a little bit better. I'm very much right-handed, so I'm getting some of those little swirls in. Very much like that. And actually, as I'm doing that, I could see this being even just a little bit more of some of the darker swirls. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that black into that gray to make it even darker. So I'm very much liking how this is turning out, and just um, very tiny amounts, very detailed. Ooh, that one got a little out of control. So now it's kind of fun. Kind of fun when they don't do it. I'm not sure what they're doing, but it's kind of fun to see how they turn out. And as I'm looking into this, I actually think that some just plain black might look nice in there. And, you know, this is very true to Anonymous's request, was just rolling with it. I think that that's very much what this kind of this particular painting is kind of turning into, is that the the, the painting and the colors, they're kind of just doing their own thing here, and I'm I'm just rolling with what I see and what's popping out at me, and don't have any agenda in mind. I'm just kind of rolling with whatever kind of comes up as I'm seeing this and seeing these colors blend and not blend. I really, really like the way that this is turning out. And I kind of like the way that it is. I do like the idea of possibly blending some of these a little bit. So I'm gonna try it on a corner and just see how that turns out. But I very much, if I don't like that, I don't wanna mess with this too much, because if I am liking the way that this is turning out. So just that is very much like blending that just a hair more. I'm not really taking it away. I'm just giving it a little bit less defined edges. So just making it a little bit more smooth. Um, very much Love these guys. I could probably do this all day. Just smoothing out some of these little edges. I am happy with the way this turned out. So, Anonymous asked questions, so I will be sending this to them, and feel free to continue to ask questions. Take care.